Hey guys, what would you do if, hypothetically speaking, you were a small rural police department or the military of a small developing nation and you were stuck with a bunch of carry-handle AR carbines? Maybe the US government gave you a sweetheart deal on all the commercial off-the-shelf Colt 727s they didn't need anymore after Operation Restore Hope. Either way, you're stuck with these things, you can't afford to buy new rifles, but you would like to update them to the standards of at least the late 20th century with stuff like optics and weapon lights. How would you go about doing that? I can think of a very easy way to do that, and it's called the Magpul handguard, but apparently that's not good enough for Mr. Mark LaRue, who has graced us with yet another insane fever dream invention designed to take a retro carry-handle AR into the modern era by bolting a large block of aluminum to the top of it. Let's talk about the LaRue AccARizer.
Today's video was made possible by my favorite restaurant on the entire internet, our channel sponsor, Venture Surplus. I think it would be cheaper to feed yourself entirely on a diet of MREs from Venture Surplus than it would be to sign up for something like HelloFresh or Factor 75. It may not be good for you long term, but for a couple of nights or a week out in the field, MREs are a convenient portable source of calories that does not need to be cooked, which means you don't need to carry extra water and fuel to rehydrate and then heat up your meals like you would with freeze-dried food. I'll be hanging out with Brass Facts again pretty soon, and we plan to do a big taste test comparing all the different types of MREs which you can get from Venture Surplus. The classic MRE in the brown bag, the cold weather MRE in the white bag, the halal MRE fobbed off on the Terps, and the humanitarian ration for hurricane victims and small brown children in other countries. Check out Venture Surplus at the link in the video description. Use the code provided to save 10% off your order. And for God's sake, don't just buy MREs. Throw like a magazine pouch in there or something, otherwise Venture might get a little bit mad at me. Thank you to Venture Surplus for supporting this channel. Thank you guys for watching. Let's get back to the video.
Accessorizing or modernizing a retro carry-handle AR is not actually all that difficult. There are plenty of ways to attach optics to a carry handle. You can either use a gooseneck, which puts the optic nice and low over the handguard, or you can just use an optic that mounts directly to the top of the carry handle, or even just a Picatinny accessory rail that mounts to the top of the carry handle that allows you to put literally any optic you could possibly dream of on there. As far as other tactical enablers go, you're really never more than a handguard replacement away from being able to mount any sort of accessory that you could want. For example, a simple drop-in quad rail would allow you to mount a light, a laser, a vertical grip. What more do you really need? Or you could do something even simpler and cheaper. All it would take is about $100 worth of Magpul furniture to thoroughly update the ergonomics of this gun. I know a lot of you would say that Magpul furniture is ugly. Unfortunately, that is one of the most boring opinions a person could have, so I'm really going to need you to come up with something better. Thank you. So what is the point of a LaRue AccARizer? Or I'm going to start calling it the Accarizer because I think that's kind of what they were going for with the name. I've never really heard it said out loud by anybody else, so Accarizer. What is the point of doing that when you could just mount an optic the same way that you would on any carry-handle gun and then swap out the handguard for, a $35 piece of Magpul plastic that allows you to mount a weapon light? I think Mark LaRue's theory is that there may be some rules for these militaries or for these police agencies where they are not allowed to modify anything about the stock firearm. I guess dropping in a replacement two-piece clamshell handguard would be beyond the pale, but bolting a big piece of aluminum to the top is totally a-okay. Well, that still doesn't really make too much sense because you can actually just get a clamp-on pick rail front sight base attachment, which is how I attached a weapon light to this rifle without having to change out the handguard.
It shoots really well. That's it. I'm selling everything for an A2.
So yeah, I don't really get it. To me, it kind of seems like the C note where maybe the entire design and manufacturing process took place before anybody bothered to try to justify it. Anyway, let's go ahead and put an Acarizer on this H&R A2.
The LaRue Accarizer is an aluminum strut that bridges the carry handle and the front sight base on a carbine-length AR. LaRue pitches it as a way to add modern optics and accessories to a classic AR without doing any major or permanent modifications. We will interrogate this idea later. The Accarizer is in theory intended for A2 style and older A2 uppers that have fixed carry handles, but there's actually no reason you couldn't add one to a flat top AR with a detachable carry handle. The Accarizer has M-LOK slots on the sides and a full run of 1913 rail on the top, starting at about the midpoint of the carry handle and going all the way to the front sight. Unlike a lot of carry-handle optic mounts, the Accarizer blocks the stock iron sights. In fact, in order to install it, you need to remove the front sight post from the front sight base. One hex bolt threads into the leftover hole on the front sight base, and then a second bolt with a nut and washer assembly attaches the rear of the Accarizer to the normal mounting hole in the carry handle. There are multiple threaded holes on the top of the rail where you can attach the optional iron sights that come with the AccARizer kit, so you still have access to backup irons if you need them. These are simple pistol-style sights. The front post is fixed in place, and the rear U-notch can be drifted side to side to at least allow you to zero the windage. The elevation is going to fall somewhere between approximate and wildly off target, but they're backups, so whatever, dude. Now tell me if you've identified a contradiction in the design of the AccARizer. Remember, the theory is that dropping in a Magpul handguard is somehow an unacceptable permanent configuration change, but removing 3 small parts from the sight in order to bolt this aluminum superstructure to the top of your gun is kosher. Curious. Alright, let's try to set this thing up.
So here it is, our A2 government carbine complete with LaRue AccARizer, optic, and weapon light. First impressions. A little bit nose heavy. We're adding a lot of aluminum out over the handguard. Probably more weight than would have been added if we replaced it with a heavier handguard, but that is a little bit to be expected. Accessorizing the AR inevitably means adding weight to the front. So we have got a Holosun 403R in a low QD mount. We do have the backup iron sights installed just in case. We have a Surefire Pro 640 Pro on the swivel to try to get the button down where I can hit it with my thumb. And in theory, we now have everything that we need to conduct police actions or fight a modern war. See if it works. Pretty much as expected, mounting an optic this high up is the same as mounting one, on the top of the carry handle. The weapon light placement is not very good. It's as far forward as it will go, and it's too far back. When I had one of these things mounted on a pick rail clamp on the front sight base, it was a lot more accessible and much better position. Allowed my hand to actually get all the way onto the handguard and still have my thumb in the right spot for the button. That's something you could also do with a Magpul handguard and one of their cantilever light mounts that pushes the light forward past the front sight base. So. This part's not very good. If I put a laser on here, my tape switch would either have to run down the side of the gun or down the side of the front sight base, and I would have to have a switch maybe like taped or rubber banded or something to the handguard, which wouldn't be great. Or in theory, put the tape switch back here on the handguard, have the laser up here, put the optic even higher up so that it would clear the laser, and just grip it like a 2x6 in order to push the button. It may seem like I'm being excessively negative about an accessory that I've only had on the gun for a total of like 6 rounds, but trust me, I had a lot of time of fondling this thing to discover its many ergonomic faults.
So where does the AccARizer fall on the tier list of different ways to modernize a retro carry handle AR? The easiest way to add a light and optic while still keeping it classic is the way I already did it. I put a GG&G Slick Thing front sight base clamp-on rail on the H&R and attached an old thumbscrew mount Surefire to it. The optic is also easy. For a while I had an ACOG direct mounted to the carry handle. That's certainly one option, but the preferred setup ended up being an ARMS No. 2 Picatinny carry handle mount with an Aimpoint 9000 SC in a pair of loopholed scope rings. No permanent modifications, nothing removed from the gun at all. If you're not concerned about preserving retro aesthetics, you can ante up to Magpul. Magpul handguard, Magpul stock, Magpul grip. For the weapon light, we use a Magpul extended cantilever scout mount. This is pretty close to how I have my Munition Works Fixie LT set up. Everything you need and nothing you don't. But seeing Magpul furniture on a fixed carry handle AR does kind of freeze the blood, doesn't it? So what's the AccARizer good for? Isn't it obvious? Reddit upvote. Looking cool. Retro carry handle ARs used to be cool when they were hard to find, but now that they're everywhere again, you have to do something else to stand out. The AccARizer turns your boring Gothic Serpent Blood Diamond Heat Shootout Admin Results build into something nobody else has seen. It gives off major sci-fi prop gun vibes, something you could imagine in a sequel to Starship Troopers. A proper sequel, not the endless schlock parade we've been getting since 1997. And no, putting Neil Blomkamp in charge of the remake is not a good idea. He can only make one movie, it's called Blood Diamond, and he's made it 3 times already. The man is the Webster's definition of hack fraud. That being said, You should definitely buy an AccARizer. For starters, it's only $100. A throwback to the time when LaRue products were bizarrely cheap considering the quality and creativity that went into making them. This one isn't mine. I ordered an AccARizer as soon as they hit the website, but it took so long for LaRue to run my card for the order that the credit card I used had already expired, and I don't know if they've ever done more than a single production run. Still, you can try to place a back order and see what happens. I was able to borrow this one from a viewer by offering to send it back with a free LaRue C-Note once I was finished with the video. The C-Note, by the way, seems to have been a limited time offer, and I don't think LaRue plans to make any more of them. Speaking of which, I did promise I would put a C-Note on an AccARizer, didn't I? I will be getting one of these, and I will be mounting the C-Note to it. Mark my words, you will LaRue the day you cross me.
I think there's one way that we could make this thing a little bit better, and that would be combining it with another LaRue product to hopefully create some kind of LaRue brand synergy that will take this thing into probably the 22nd century at the very least. Anyway, now we have a C-Note on the top of our AccARizer. Our height over bore is getting extreme. Here we go. Oh yeah, we are on target, baby. Yep, I think with the two of these items combined, we may be unstoppable. So if you're an AK fan, really used to that jugular weld, this might be the combo package that will convince you of the AR platform's supremacy. Think about it.
Well, that about does it for today, guys. Thank you all for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, you can subscribe and check the links in the video description. If you join Subscribestar, you get bonus videos like podcast discussions with Brassfax or little mini reviews of products I'm testing out, and access to a Discord full of people with the same mental disorders as you. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I will see you next time. Hey, bud.